Burrow checking in from another part of the country this morning, getting set to tee it up, going back to Nebraska. How's it feel to get back to a place that you spent so much time?
Well, it was great. Got to see a lot of old teammates. Got to see Coach Osborne, and I was friends with Bill Moose, athletic director for many years at Washington State, and so we were his guest in the athletic department, athletic director suite, and so that was a lot of fun and a lot of memories. And then I'm out here with Jamie in the sand hills of Nebraska and his brother-in-law to play a little golf. It's about 5 hours west of Omaha, so we're way out in what they call the sand hills of Nebraska.
Coach, you were at Nebraska during the heyday. You saw Nebraska when they were great. They were college football's elite. Last Saturday, game day was there for a big matchup when Ohio State was in Lincoln. You saw the scoreboard and how different the two teams were there. From a program standpoint, now that they have one of their own and Frost running it, how far off, in your opinion, are the Cornhuskers?
Well, I think they'll turn it around fairly quickly. You know, Scott's is a great coach and loves Nebraska football and Nebraska in general. So it's just a matter of recruiting and getting the right players for his philosophy and what he wants to do on both sides of the ball. So you know, last year they made some progress, and then this year they've kind of stalled a little, but everybody is still fired up that Scott Frost is Nebraska's football coach. That's for sure.
A little bit about Ohio State, because they look phenomenal through the first month of the season. So do the Tigers. Do you ever just kind of think about the potential matchup of them down the line in a playoff championship type setting of Joe going against his old school?
Well, that would be quite a matchup. I'm sure Joe would like that, and you know, we could live with that too. I know they're one of the top teams in the country as well as LSU, and I've always said, hey, they have players that match up with anybody. So that would be a great matchup. Long season ahead, but that would be awesome if that could happen down the road.
Coach, you get to see Joe at all during the bye week?
No, he thought about coming home, but he chose. They didn't really have a long time to. So the turnaround time just wasn't worth it, and we were my wife and I were going to Nebraska, so he just chose to stay there and relax and watch some football, which you know, with night games most of the time at LSU, he doesn't get an opportunity. I know. We end up watching the late Pac-10 games like at midnight or something, but I'm sure he enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, look, he'll be able to watch some more this weekend, but then the night games are gonna be back. Saturday night, Florida, LSU in Death Valley. Jimmy, are you already getting a little excited?
Well, I'm getting excited even for this weekend because of the not having a game last weekend with LSU, but. You know, you got to take care of business. Again, coach speak and one game at a time and all that. But I've never seen an SEC game at Baton Rouge, so that's going to be my first experience. So for sure, I'm excited to be there and to witness. You know what my whole family says is the greatest of all time when they're there on a big game.
Okay, I didn't want to misspeak. I thought that was the case. So you are going to get a hell of an opener here. Like, I am so happy that CBS chose Bama Texas A&M for that 2:30 game. It's going to be wild. So here we said last week, because it was a bye week, we did a thing where we kind of did almost like a third of a season review. You know, where taking stock of everything. When you sat back and you took stock of everything. And Joe, like, where's his head at? How do you carry over that success into the meat of this conference schedule?
Well, I'm sure they looked at the self-scout of the first 4 games to see not only what they did really good and want to continue doing that, but they also see, hey, these are the areas that we need to improve on, and you kind of just pick right back up, other than the fact that you've identified maybe a weakness, something in scouting that an opponent's going to see as far as tendencies. Hey, what do we call on? What does Coach Ensminger call on certain down and distances? And so you work toward maybe mixing that up a little during the course of the week to change up for the game. But it's you never want to change something that's not broken or fix something that's not broken. So they'll just continue to build on what they've done offensively, and I'm sure on defense once again they've looked at everything, saw what they've done good, saw what they need to improve on, and there'll be some adjustments on both sides of the ball this week, I'm sure.
So take us kind of into the coaches' meeting rooms during these self-scouting periods. Are y'all like bouncing ideas off of each other? I'm sure at LSU they have some, shadow staff analysts that have broken down everything. But do you think the coordinators are getting together and kind of being like, how would you block this? What would you do here? How's that work?
I doubt if there's too many meetings with the offense and the defense, but for sure from the defensive standpoint, the coaches get together and hey, this is, if you're a cover 3 team, you look at the statistics versus all the cover 3s that you have, the yards per catch, yards after the catch. You just do a complete self scout, and then again as a staff you discuss ways to get better, and you might even throw out a defense or two or a coverage that you're just looking at and you say, hey, this really hasn't been good. So you either tweak it, change it, or you throw it out. And same thing happens on offense. You look at the run plays, each one, the yards per rush, and the passes. What's our completion percentage in that particular pass? And you may add some things, change some things, or you can completely throw some things out also. But those are staff decisions on both sides of the ball.
What's the competitive part about Joe, and that's the part about him that everybody loves so much, is the competitive quality that he has. What about him in his off week from a coach's standpoint, or just your guys' conversation? What does he believe he needs to improve on?
Well, I'm sure that there's times where I think he would say, well, I didn't get the ball out quick enough, because that's been a whole point of emphasis during the course of the off season. And as he looks at his film and he sees certain passes that maybe there was some pressure, and you say, well, the offensive line didn't hold up, but in Joe's mind, he may look at it and say, I should have gotten the ball out quicker. And I'm sure those are type things that he looked at. Maybe some coverages that he's had trouble against when you break it down, and so those are the things. I'm sure Joe looked at that with the coaches, and he spends a lot of time on his own watching film too. So I'm sure he was breaking down in those type things in his own mind too.
Hit him straight this morning, Coach. Look forward to our conversation next week.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good week.
There he is, Coach Jimmy Burrow, checking in from South Nebraska this morning. Played in a golf tournament over there, talking a little bit about his son, Joe Burrow, quarterback for the Tigers, who sits atop right now of the Heisman Trophy candidates, as he's one of the favorites to win it right now, right around the midseason mark for LSU. Yeah, Tigers will host Utah State on Saturday, 11 a.m.